record to this computer, and then we're going to get started. As I share the PowerPoint that we're going to go over tonight, I'm thankful that you guys could be here for this. I'm surprised there's not more, but at the same time, it is the first night, and sometimes that happens. So I'm sharing now. It's 9 o'clock. We'll probably get out of here, especially with just 3 of us, a lot faster than we would have otherwise. But that's good, right? That's fun. That being the case, I'm going to go ahead and have a word of prayer, and then we will get right to it. Father, make our time together useful this evening. May we not by any means be wasteful as we look ahead to what is coming up in the course, and may the notes taken be notes which are made in such a way as to be reminders and helpful later on in the upcoming. We love you. We thank you for all that you have done for us, especially your son on the cross. Amen. Okay, here we go. Comp 1 orientation. I'm glad that you're with me. We got Joanna and we got Catherine with us tonight. We're going to keep moving on with, and for anybody that joins us later on or that watches this video, it's good to have you with us. Anyway, Comp 1 orientation. Tonight we're just making ourselves familiar with the course. So a writer's reference. This is one of the textbooks that you were supposed to purchase. Notice that there are page and exercise numberings that have changed the new edition. And so if there is a problem somewhere where the people who set up this course didn't quite set it up the right way, or it's a wrong page or something, please let me know and I will get you that number as quickly as I can. Assignments, we do try to give both the old and the new on the assignments, but just be ready to make sure you're matching up the title with the page numbers. If the page numbers just don't make sense, perhaps make sure that you are using the preferred edition or the edition that's noted in the instructions. But if you find any errors in numbering, please do let me know and I will try to fix them. Again, we've tried to make it so this course is, we've tried to make it so that people can succeed with what we ask them to succeed with, but also if they really are trying to at least pass the course with the older edition, that we're being kind, but that's slowly being phased out. So we do want you to have the correct edition that we asked you for in the beginning. But in this session, we're going to cover several things. We're going to cover the basics of the course, the basics of APA formatting, which is the formatting we're going to use, and any questions you might have. Okay? You should take notes, especially if you're watching this by video, because you need to upload those notes, and even for Joanna, Catherine, and Darcy. Darcy's with us too. That's awesome. Glad to have you tonight, Darcy. We are going to, I will be able to actually mark off that you were here right away, and you'll be fine. You won't need to upload your notes because you were here live. Anyway, here we go. By the way, if you do wind up taking notes on a piece of paper, you'll just take a picture of them and send them in, upload them. So why Comp 1? Why should you become a good writer? What are some, Joanna, anyone, give me, unmute yourselves, and tell me why it is that you think becoming a good writer is necessary, even if you're a nursing major or something like that. We only have 3 options right now, so someone's got to step up. Joanna, looks like you.
I feel like if we're not talking, it's a way to communicate, and as Christians, we should try to find the best way to communicate, especially with communicating the gospel and things like that.
Very good. Yes, I'm glad we took it to the absolute highest nth right away. Thank you for that, Joanna. Yes, we need to make sure that we are able to communicate the gospel of Jesus Christ in whatever medium we're asked to communicate it with, right? Whichever way that we have the opportunity to communicate the gospel, we need to make sure that we are good writers in that way. So yes, taking it all the way to that extent, I'm thankful we went there first. There's other reasons, of course, and Joanna would say the same. Preparation for college writing. Notice that no matter what you are going to be major-wise, I said nursing, teacher, English, theology, whatever it might be that you wind up in, you will be involved with college writing. You will be involved with, my wife happens to have been a nursing major there at Maranatha, and the writing which she did on campus has carried her through her doctorate now. And it is basic argumentation skills. There are many things which come with good writing, and not the least of which is what we already mentioned, because clear communication is a basic life. You're going to be writing reports, memos, emails. I should take the time to say here, please keep emails to me professional with a salutation, a body, a closing, and your signature. It's something I've run into a couple of times already. We need to make sure that now that we're in the college setting, we are making appropriate and professional emails to one another. And of course, we started here, but for Christian testimony and public life, we need to make sure that we're pursuing excellence in that way as well. So these are a few reasons why we should become a good writer. We can think of many more. As far as expectations go, you should know I'm expecting you to be checking your email daily, and that you are using your Maranatha address to correspond with me and your classmates. I will respond to emails as soon as possible, and I will expect you to respond to an email as soon as possible as well. And if I'm expecting you to check it once a day, I'm expecting that within 24 hours of me sending something, you'll be replying to me. Oftentimes this happens much faster, and you can expect me to be replying to you and to your emails way faster than 24 hours. I have my app on my phone that has all my the different emails I use, including my Maranatha email, and so I get these emails far too often during the day. So I would suggest that you develop a way for yourself to be checking your emails consistently, maybe 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening, or at least one of those times. You should only be submitting work that is your own, not work that was completed by a parent or a peer or by someone who worked through your paper and made changes. Can you have an editor? Yes, you can have an editor, but that editor cannot make any changes. They can point out to you where something needs to change, but they can't make any changes themselves. You shouldn't be working on your exercises with anyone else, because that is where we want to see you grow specifically in your knowledge. Those exercises are how you will gain knowledge, especially of specific grammar and different rules like that. Do edit your own work. Now, I just said you can find another editor. It is fine to have someone look at your paper and say, on this page, there is a misspelling. You need to find it. Okay, well then you are still doing the editing. You are actually the one doing the changes. However, if you are having someone else change your wording for you, then they are becoming your editors, and that is a problem. So it's a fine line, but make sure that you are the one who's making the changes on your work. Now, before I go into mechanics, is there any questions about those expectations as they sit right now for those that are here? And Darcy, if you are trying to chat, I don't have the chat pulled up. Wait. I can't pull it up right now. So if you happen to be trying to get a hold of me, Darcy, just have to unmute yourself and let me know that way. But I can't pull up the chat currently. All right, we're going to keep on going then. So next up, mechanics. So you'll have videos and PowerPoints available to you under videos and PowerPoints, which is located on the tab on the sidebar. And I will make sure that even tonight's session is quickly uploaded to the course, so you will have availability. So that those of you who are joining us by video will have the ability to see it by video. And next week's assignments will also be available the Thursday before. Let me know if you need earlier access than this. So for example, when I get off of this call tonight, I'm going to go onto the course, and I'm actually going to open up next week's coursework for you. Don't get confused though. Make sure you are still in the right layout and that you are still in the right, you're not accomplishing things for next week when you haven't finished things for this week. So be careful of that. Late work is accepted on everything except for discussion forums, tests, and writers' conferences, which that's a lot of things, so just heads up on that. But you can post late work. There is a penalty, but you can do that. And you'll receive an email when I post feedback on one of your assignments, so be sure to review that feedback. That's an automatically generated feedback. I will leave notes and comments that when I post a grade, you should be able to see it. When I leave notes on something, you should be able to quickly see those as well. And sometimes, depending on the comments I leave, you'll be able to see those in the body of the email you get from the e-learning course. Please stop me if you have any questions. If not, I'm just going to keep on rolling. See some of you taking notes. That's good. So APA guidelines. Simple. If you may have been in previous settings that have asked you to follow guidelines like this. You may have not. But in this setting, we do ask that you follow certain rules of formatting. Specifically, we ask that you follow the APA guidelines. Why is this? Well, because you have access to them in the books that you book, but also because this helps us be sure that everyone has a similar style and we're working off the same page and expectations. So Times New Roman 12-point font is what I want to see for all papers. Wingdings 18, no thank you. Or Calibri 2, no, I can't read that. That's far too small. So be sure to give me something these glasses can actually see and read. Times New Roman 12-point font is the expectation. Double spaced, and you'll want to remove the before and after spacing, which means in Microsoft Word, which by the way, you should be using Microsoft Word. If you're using Google Docs, that will only take you so far. So we ask that even from day one, you start using Microsoft Word, which, by the way, that's available to you through Maranatha. So make sure that you have looked up through IT or wherever you can find that information how to receive Microsoft Word. But you will need to be turning into me .doc, so period .doc or docx documents when you turn in your assignments. Many of you will be working from Macs, like Apple computers. That's okay. But make sure that when you go to submit the paper, you're not submitting it as a .pages or a period PAGES. It needs to be period DOC or period DOCS. DOCS. And what I mean by that is, let me see if I can get this to right. I want a ink color. So you're going to be turning things in as .docx or .doc, but if you are on a Mac, it will look like pages, and that is not what we want to see. Okay, so just heads up on that. Now I want to erase all ink on the slide. Good. Hey, that worked pretty well. I haven't used that before. Nice, fun tool. 1-inch margins are what we are expecting as we go. And that is the default setting on Microsoft Word, so you shouldn't have to mess with anything if you use Microsoft Word. Only one space after each mark of any punctuation. Now this is a concept that APA allows for either one or two spaces afterwards. Depending on who taught you your typing, this might be brand new to you, or this might be something you're like, oh, I thought we always use one space after any punctuation. It just depends on usually the age of your teacher, because your teacher, if they were old enough, were taught on word processors, which you were supposed to double space afterwards. Young enough, they only knew the one space because the keyboard and the computer and the word processing and software we have now only needs the one space. There should be a word count at the end of your document as well. So these are some basic guidelines I'm going over now, and I'm going to walk you through, or at least you're going to be able to see on the screen here, a couple of the spaces where for example, the double space removed before and after spacing comes into play. And all of this will be shown to you on Microsoft Word. So for example, here we go. I'm going to pull out another ink color right now, and we're going to look at specifically this. Oh, that's very small. Oh no, there we go. It's right here. Indentation left, right, 0, 0. But notice this is the big one. Spacing 0, 0. But what's wrong with this spacing right here, the line spacing, is that it should be double. So to make it double, you would click on this drop-down menu, and it would drop down, and then one of the options is double as opposed to single. Okay? So you want to be focusing on this. You want to be focusing on this 040 after, and making sure that this is double. Yep, good. That did it for me. I didn't have to draw. It did it for me. But anyway, it was fun to draw. I haven't done that before. Again, pretty cool. But you may be focusing on 0, 0, and once you have 0, 0, change your line spacing to double, as you see right here. Double space removed before and after spacing. Where's my clicker? There it is. Yeah, right here. As you see right here, and as you see right here, this information. So questions on that? This is basic Microsoft Word, what we expect to see on your papers. No, yes, kind of both. Anybody? All right, no, all right, that's fine, that's fine. No questions means we move through faster, no problem. That's what we want to see. And by the way, you find this paragraph drop-down under the menu up here, or you can find it if this paragraph box wasn't in the way. You would find it right here, behind this box right here as a drop-down tab. So heads up on that. Okay, so this is what the page number should look like. We have on the side, um, we have the we have this 4-line header, which this is actually not APA. This would be considered MLA. And this numbering that is over here, just again, heads up, just know that this is what we're asking you for. But this is a little bit of in-house. It's MLA, not APA. But anyway, we're asking you to keep this 4-line header with your name, what section you're in, the date, and then comparison contrast paper. So please have this set up, and your page numbers will be going in the top right-hand corner. That's a horrible arrow, but I'm trying. It's not easy. Notice we also have a title. Please do not turn any papers into me which do not have a title and which do not have a first line which is indented. Make sure that first line is indented as well. So paper expectations. The goal of writing is clear, effective communication. That makes sense, right? We want to make sure that what we say is clear and effective. Good writing is not necessarily about the number of words or the size of the words. It's often much more to do with your vocabulary. What is it you're actually saying, such as, a short word could be better than a long word. Don't use a $3 word if a $2 word will work, or if a 50-cent word will work, such as home versus habitation. You could be padding the size of your writing with a longer word, but that might not be getting your point across succinctly and clearly. You'll hear me say that a lot, hopefully, succinct and clear. Often the shorter sentence is actually better than the long one, though too many simple short sentences in a row, and I'm bored. So there is variety as a key here. So this is a very basic paper expectation, but no, we are asking you not to become little dictionaries. We're asking you to become clear. So I'm going to be grading you on several things: grammar, sentence structure, writing style, instruction following, and the incorporation of the writing principles discussed in They Say, I Say, which is a great little book. It's a tremendous book. I hope you enjoy reading it. Hope you enjoyed applying it. It actually was one of my favorite grammar books. As I began teaching this, I really did appreciate the way in which I went about that. Grammar. If you are not strong on grammar, please make sure you have that grammar handbook, the writer's reference, right next to you. That's a big deal. Sentence structure. Sentence structure. Few sentences, comma splices, fragments. I hope you've heard those terms before. If not, go look them up, because those are considered major errors. So if you have a comma splice, a few sentence, a fragment, perhaps you called a run-on sentence before. If you don't know how to use a semicolon appropriately, if you don't know that an independent clause should be followed by a comma conjunction and then another independent clause, you need to go make sure that you have looked those things up and you're well aware of them, because those are expectations that we have in this course that you either become familiar with or that you enter this course familiar with. Your writing style, again, this talks about you making sure that you are an academic tone. Instruction following is kind of a big deal, and you wouldn't think it was, but for example, I just walked with you through what the first page of a paper should look like. But I promise you, throughout the time I have this course, someone will turn in a paper to me that does not list their name, doesn't have a page number, doesn't have a date on it, and that's one of those, that's an easy thing that you're just wasting points on, because you could just follow what's been asked of you. I'm sorry my glasses glare. I keep them down my nose like this. You can actually see my eyes and know that I mean what I say with my eyes. But let's keep going. So if I choose on certain assignments, we will use the Comp 1, Comp 2 grading numbers. These grading numbers are meant for me to have ease in grading, but be able to show you a lot quickly. So how does it work? So first of all, that handout I just showed you right here is available under the rubrics and resources on the sidebar of the course. If, for example, I mark 37A, you can look at the grading number handout. So I circle something on your paper, and I just circle over here, you know, this is a problem, and I write 37A next to it. You can look at this number. I should change this to a little bit darker of a color. You can look at that number, and you can say, wait a second, I've seen this number before. Where did this number come from? Well, it's here under that Rubrics and Resources tab, and it is this handout. So 37A would be one of those numbers. And you can say, you know, for example, if it was 20A, it would be avoid beginning sentence structures with coordinating conjunctions and, but, or, no, for, yet. So that's a problem, or that's a standard formatting issue in English that we wouldn't want to see repeated. So please become familiar with these grading numbers, as I may use them on bigger papers in the course or just when I deem necessary. But also in this, you can see what's being asked of you. It's like a rubric. Also watch for comments in the right margin. So if you turn in Microsoft Word documents to me, I have the ability to right click on the document and to add a new comment. I will, mostly that's what I'll be doing. Sometimes I'll add those numbers though. So heads up on that. If you go look up a YouTube video on how to review the show comments or how to see comments if you need to, but that's, again, something that is a Microsoft Word document friendly system, and I love to use it because it gives me exact interaction. I can click on a word, right click, new comment, it'll shoot out a line to a bubble on the right hand side in the comment section, and I can type in whatever I want there. So, annotation. Can you look at the source and figure out what the central argument is? Does the writer use solid evidence? Can you pick up on any bias? As you work on a project, you need to be able to ask yourself these questions, and how can this skill, okay, so here's, I should back up. Can you look at a source and figure out what the central argument is? Do you feel comfortable doing that? That's something you'll need to do, and annotation can help you with that. Annotation, writing down something on the side, making sure you are following along with the argument can help you with that. Does the writer use solid evidence? Hopefully that's something that you are asking yourself. Hopefully you are asking yourself as you look at a piece of writing. Is the writer using solid evidence here? Do I believe what's being said based on previous knowledge? Can you pick up on any bias? You know, if you're watching Fox News, there's a bias. If you're watching CNN, there's a bias. If you're reading publications from Sean Hannity or from Joe Biden, there's going to be bias there. If you're reading something, and I don't like to stay political because Christians can err on different sides of that spectrum. But in anything, if you are a football lover versus a soccer lover, you're going to enter a conversation concerning the best sport with an obvious bias. So are you aware of those? Are you seeing those in your own reading of everything from a magazine to the newspaper to social media? As you work on this project and the projects that we're coming up on, ask yourself, how can this skill of evaluating a written piece benefit you as a Christian, and how can you use this skill to glorify God? I would say that anyone who has had a life in church or has had a life where you have been asked to review the Bible or you've been asked to sit through sermons where someone is critiquing humanity through the lens of God's Word, well, this skill of evaluation is something that you have a lot of already, even without realizing it. Because what have you done for, the first 18, 19, 20 years of your existence? You have sat through times when a person evaluates the source, which is God's Word, and extrapolates from that source onto present life. And that is a skill, and that's something that you should thank God for and make sure that you are capitalizing on. So please do make sure that when you evaluate the writer, the piece of writing, whatever it is that you're evaluating, that you remember you're doing this as a Christian, and that in the future, as you move on into your doctoral level work perhaps, or when you get into situations of management or whatnot, and you are able to look at a situation, look at a text, look at a problem, you can see quickly the bias. You can see quickly the problems. You can see quickly what it is that you need to see to succeed. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now because we have reached the end of our slides, as you can tell. Actually, I want to discard those. So I'm going to stop the recording.